Today's episode is Leading Cultural Change, Fostering a Pharma 4 Mindset across the organization. I am Dr. Jain Joshi, having more than 45 years of experience with a passion for adoption of emerging technologies to achieve business excellence, mainly in pharma and regulatory industry. We also have our YouTube channel, Center of Excellence Pharma 4, where more than 200 videos are there. Please visit and subscribe. We have a course, Smart Manufacturing in Pharma, on Udemy platform. Please visit that also and subscribe. We have now launched a new podcast channel, Center of Excellence Pharma 4. And this is a new episode which I am going to discuss today. The title of episode is Leading Cultural Change, Fostering a Pharma 4 Mindset across the organization. And this is very important for cultural transformation within the pharma companies to adopt to Pharma 4 principles. The key themes are: first one is understanding what is Pharma 4. Explanation of Pharma 4 is Pharma 4 entails including integration of digital technologies, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and data analytics into pharma manufacturing operation. Second and most important thing is cultural transformation. The necessity for cultural shift from legacy system to the new digital systems and the new processes is most important thing. We will discuss on how organization cultural impacts the success of adoption of Pharma 4 initiatives. The third key element is leadership role. The critical role of leadership is in driving the cultural change. Strategies for leaders is to be designed, and this is more of a behavioral change, and that values to align into the Pharma 4 mindset. Collaboration and empowerment. Emphasis is on fostering the collaboration across various departments. As we know, it's a complete digital supply chain management which leads to Pharma 4, and that needs to break down the silos and build up a good communication among all the stakeholders and departments. Empowering employee empowerment to take ownership in the role of digital transformation process. The fifth element is training and development. Importance of training programs to equip employees with the necessary skills to work with the new digital transformation technologies. This also requires a continuous learning of the core components which are driving the cultural change and incorporate those changes into the new technologies which are coming up. Communication strategies. This requires effective communication between all stakeholders, departments, and all the skills to manage the change to reinforce the vision of Pharma 4. Sharing success stories and the best practices are required from the previous experiences from the pilot projects into the future plans and the projects which are coming up, which motivate the employees. Seventh element is measuring the cultural change. Establishing the metrics to assess the impact of cultural initiatives on organizational performance. Gathering feedback from employee to understand their perceptions of the cultural shift. Building trust and transparencies. Creating a cultural trust where employees feel safe about their job, their responsibilities, and then they go on adding up their expertise into the future project. And this transparency builds up a good decision making process on a long term basis to achieve Pharma 4. The ninth element is navigating the resistance. As we say, there is always a resistance to change, which we have to work out with the strategies, and we have to drive the process which builds up the stakeholders into the responsibilities, and they get a confidence of building up the support into this cultural initiative. And last one is they should also have a long term sustainability. These projects are a long term processes. We are changing not only the technologies, but with the people, with the processes, and which needs to be having a focus on a long term basis. So that commitment from leadership to all stakeholders drives the improvements is to be there. So by emphasizing and fostering the Pharma 4 mindset is not just a technology adoption, but it's also creating the environment where innovation, collaboration, and continuous improvements are driving the whole process. Thus, by focusing onto the cultural change, pharmaceutical companies are in a much better position to achieve a success in a digital landscape. Now, these key elements, how they will bring the success into the Pharma 4 digital transformation. Let's consider this. We discussed about the key elements and how this new digital technologies, digital transformation, they will bring efficiency, quality, and regulatory compliances from the Pharma 4. So, what are the resources required? Is agile and adaptive assets. That is basically a human capital is there. It's employees, machines are there, tools are there, equipments are there, and they should have a flexible enough to achieve and rapidly change with depending upon the demands of the industry. As we see the customers, the patients' demands are changing, market requirements are changing, we have to consider all this and build up a collaboration between the humans, machine. So it's a people, processes, and technology. All they have to work together, and that has to be based on to the strategic role, which will automate all these repetitive tasks and take the organization into the new changes. Second is the information systems. We have to also think about the advanced data management as we are looking out for the new technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, they can help in facilitating the real-time data processing and transferring. And these systems needs to be also have a seamless integration with the earlier systems like enterprise resource planning, manufacturing execution system, laboratory information systems. These have to work together, and then that needs data integrity. So the data accuracy, data reliability, data analysis is all required to build up a operational excellence and also needs to support the regulatory compliances. The third is the organization and processes. Organization structures, as I mentioned earlier, were silos based in the legacy system. This needs to be more flexible. They have to be more agile, and that is requires a more decentralization and collaborative framework are to be built up at all the levels for a better decision making. Holistic control strategy, as I mentioned, is the people, processes, and technologies, and implementing these strategies in consideration, keeping in mind the quality, regulatory requirements, compliances, and all, is also to be built up. And The culture of continuous improvement is is an ongoing process. It requires a continuous assessment and refining the future processes which are going to come are to be thought about it. Then comes the culture. As this whole episode is focused onto the culture, cultural shift has to be there towards innovation. I always say that as the things are changing, we have to think in a new way, better way, and all. So, this culture should be flexible, it should be a collaborative, it should have a continuous learning approach with all the employees. And then the employee empowerment, encouraging the participation of these employees in the decision making process requires the environment to be built up and employees' feedback is to be valued and is to be incorporated into the future processes. Adaptability, cultivating the workflow that is capable of adapting the new changes is also to be designed, developed, and this processes of maintaining a core organizational values actually. This leads to digital maturity assessment. It's again a continuous process. As the employees, the stakeholders, they go on learning the new things, the stages of this maturities are also to be monitored. Into the whole project plan, there has to be some gaps which are to be identified, and then those gaps can be filled up, and the improvement is to be achieved, and all that. And that requires a roadmap for the development in the digital technology achievements and all that. So a clear-cut plan based on to this, that what stage, what digital maturity must be achieved, if there are gaps, how they can be filled up and all that into this comparison are to be drawn. This needs to pilot programs and planning actually and then scaling up. So initial pilot projects are to be planned to test the new technologies and processes before going to the full scale implementation. Measuring success, as I mentioned in the last point, we have to see the digital maturity which has been achieved. So, the success which has been achieved, and then what are the still gaps are there, those are to be identified during this pilot project also. And then that's to be help to be discussed with all team members. And then those future rollouts are to be planned accordingly. So by focusing these elements, the pharma companies can successfully go on doing this change management exercise from transformation from legacy systems to the digital transformation going to the Pharma 4. So that is what is there, which will help in improving operational efficiency, product quality, regulatory compliances, and business excellence. So what are the main challenges into these companies, what they face it during achieving the Pharma 4? The main challenges are like integrating these various advanced technologies and build up a culture of a data-driven decision-making systems, which is a main important area. So the challenges are this cost. This all requires a significant investment because we are changing the infrastructure, we are adopting the new software, we are developing the talent, we are training the team members, and this is a big challenge. This is a big cost actually, and mainly for the small mid-sized company, this is more important because they already have a very limited resources and all that. The second challenge is in the pharma industry, there are a lot of regulatory and compliance requirements are there. These are all very critical and they need to be supported. Now, from when we are shifting from the manual legacy systems to the data-driven digital systems, maybe we are also going to adopt to the new technologies like Internet of Things, sensors, and all that. How they are going to work together is also very important. So navigating this compliances along with the technologies is to be thought about it. Third most important challenge is data privacy and security. There is an increasing use of data analytics and transferring the data, and we're going to use it for artificial intelligence and digital technologies. This requires a lot of data processing, lot of transferring the data, and many places there is a sensitive data is there, whether it's a product specification, material specification, processes data and all that. So that data privacy and security is very important, which needs to be considered while designing, considering the cyber security. There comes the integration of the legacy system. As we discussed earlier, that data is stored into the various silos. So it is, to some extent, it is secure, but it doesn't really help in data-driven decision making. So integration of this system, it could be enterprise resource planning, it could be manufacturing efficiency, it could be legacy systems from the quality management and all. There need to be a careful planning, and these are all very complex things, very time consuming process for upgrading. These to be thought about it. The fifth challenge is the talent acquisition and retention. Since there is a scarcity about the good skills who also have a domain and technology expertise and who can drive this integration processes is the most important thing. So there is skilled resources at all shop floor level is very important. Those who have an interest into artificial intelligence, machine learning. So attracting such skills and retaining them and making best use of those things is a challenge in a presently a competitive job market. Culture resistance to change. As we mentioned, discussed earlier also, establishing organizational culture may resist adoption of these new technologies, particularly if the employees are accustomed to traditional processes. Shifting from those legacy systems to the new technologies is more important. And then that resistance to be changed is to have a change management strategies, a good communication, and regular training for a continuous improvement. Another challenge is complexity of implementation. As we discussed, technology has got a lot of good capabilities. Infrastructures are also available, but there is a complexity because in organization the systems are set for years together, and those manual systems are taking care of complexities. But at the same time, the markets are changing, customer expectations, expectations are changing. So there is more and more complexities are also coming up and online. So considering these complexities and implementing this into the system is most important challenge. Then cybersecurity risk, as I mentioned earlier also, since there is a huge amount of data and then that data is getting transmitted, it's stored, it's analyzed, and then again transmitted with the various stakeholders. So this process is getting bigger and longer and all that. So at so many places, there could be a possibility of theft of the data or something like that. So you should have a robust cybersecurity which will mitigate this all the risk actually. Addressing these challenges requires again a strategic approach, a good planning, then requires investment into the training, collaboration. You have to also collaborate with the technology partners. You should have a proactive engagement with the regulatory bodies also. So their thought process are also to be incorporated into the system. So navigating all these things requires a big challenge into uh, cultural change, and that is what is a challenge. Now, how this pharma companies can balance all this in a present existing culture is also to be discussed. So as we discussed it, this is a challenging thing. but needs to be incorporated. So it will start basically from the top management. The leadership commitment is required in driving these challenges, driving with the strategy, taking the employees into the consideration that this is what we have to do it. Then demonstrate that commitment with their actions. No, whether it's a time, whether it's a resources allocation, whether it's a investments and all that, and set clear roadmap and the vision for that. Actually, this is most important thing. Second thing is the cultural assessment. As we go on moving it out, we have to evaluate regularly the current culture. We have to assess it, and then organization culture, and we have to also see what are the strengths and what are the lacunas are there, what are the weaknesses are there, and how we can bridge up that. Those needs to be considered continuously, regularly. Another thing is that we have to take into account the employee involvement, because these employees also should be a part of the team, because they are the people who are going to drive this cultural change, and we have to empower these teams with the cross functional efforts and cross integrations and all that, so they become a solid strong team in driving this cultural change from legacy system to digital systems. Training and development, upskill the workflow force, providing them the training to the employees with the necessary skill, and promote continuous learning is also required. Cultural integration, we have to blend sometimes the old employees, the new employees, and then they have to also get integrated into the traditional values with the new principles which are coming up. And then that hybrid culture has to really come up, and then that will embrace the change actually. And when we are doing these changes and doing a collaboration, they have also to be motivated, they have also to be compensated to have that satisfaction for achieving something and all that. And this requires a shifting from cultural change to quality culture also, because we are finally looking at it, since it's the pharma industry, more regulatory requirements and the product quality and all are more important. So we have to ensure that these traditional practices and new technologies also keep into the mind about the product quality, product safety, product efficacies and all that. And so empower employees into this quality process and quality culture for moving from legacy system to digital practices. Thus, by employing these strategies, pharmaceutical companies can balance from the existing culture to a new digital culture, and that will incorporate the new technologies for successful adoption to the Pharma 4 principles and all that. So, the smoother transition is required, and whatever the factors or the points or features which I discussed it out, this can really help you for a smooth transition from the legacy system to the digital system for achieving the pharma. So I mentioned about our background. I mentioned also about our YouTube channel, smart manufacturing course on Tugudevi, and new uh, broadcast channel which we are launching. So I request all of you to please have a detailed look into it. Please make a like, comment, do share your thought process, subscribe this channel, share with your network, and if you have any suggestion, if you feel that there are many more other topics to be discussed from the future episode, we will definitely look at it and do that. Thank you. Bye.